Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. I am your host, Mike D. And with me today is my guest, John Smith, the host of the Unsung Veterans podcast. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Mike. Pleasure to be
Hey, well, it's a pleasure to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, for you guys just tuning in. Me and John have been trying to link up for a little while. Listen, the old man is not really technically savvy, so I've screwed up our meeting twice. Well, almost twice. Today would have been the second time, but John was courteous enough to go ahead and jump on with me. So, John, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you screwed it up. I know the first time you said you had an appointment, things
Yeah,
happen.
I was going to be
I
able to
think
give
I think life happens, and uh, sometimes you got to be flexible.
right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
So, hey, 20 years in the Marines, man. Listen, so my uncles are both Marines. Most of my family is military. 20 years. What was it like? How's life been since you've been out? What's life been like since you've been out?
I mean, life since I've been out, it's been a roller coaster in a sense that I think everybody goes through the similar. Like when they're getting out, there's like a lot of stress and anxiety of like what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Um, I had a very small period of that because I had a job lined up before I got out, so. I had a good buddy of mine who reached out to me a couple months before I got out and was like, "Hey, when are you retiring? I got a job opening." And I took him up on that offer, and I've been working that company ever since. So that wasn't so bad. But
Yeah.
the still the whole, getting your family prepared, change,
Yeah.
getting away from the day to day grind of being with the boys, and then I work from home, so that's like a complete 180 as well because my wife and I have never had so much time together. So
Yeah.
for the
Same.
last 3 years, I feel like I'm in her way all the time.
Yeah. And it's the same for me, man. Like I didn't know what to do with myself, and it took me a longer time to adjust because I'm like, what the hell do I do now? And I'm still waking up at 4:30 in the morning, like, oh shit, I'm late. And
Well, that was a big change for me. So I think that was kind of funny because I was like, I can finally sleep in because I was always doing the same, waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, getting ready
yep,
for work, going to the gym, whatever it is. And I was like, you know what? I work from home. I can get up when I want. So now I wake up every day at 7, not too late.
yeah,
But my wife, she used to sleep in and now she's reversed. She's up every day at 6.
yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second.
It's your fault. It's your fault. Excuse me. Yeah, because I can tell you, man, like I did not think that I would ever be able to adjust after being in the military. Because even my dad told me when he retired, he was like, "Listen, man, I've been retired 10 goddamn years. You know what I still do? I'm still up at the asshole of dawn. I still dress everything in my damn closet. I can't stop." I'm like, oh Jesus, I got that to look forward to. But honestly, it hasn't been too bad. Everything is occasionally I still kind of let things, I just drop shit wherever. I'm like, you know what? I get it. Because nobody's gonna make me do push-ups.
Yes, I think it was that. I mean, you asked me about. I think that part was easy for me. It took
Yeah.
me a couple months because I was around. I still work with in my current job. I'm a military contractor,
Okay.
subject matter expert. So I still work around Navy and Marines.
Good.
Um, and then a lot of my retiree buddies, like I said, one of them helped me get the job. So I'm around the boys a lot when I do go on trips. That's been helpful. But at the same time, like as soon as I took off the uniform, they made it very clear to me that I'm no longer in the uniform. They were like, stop being mass art. You need to stop doing that crap.
Yeah.
And actually, it was actually pretty helpful because they helped me transition to working around civilians,
Mhm.
around the newer generation sailors and Marines, and not, having this identity of being a master sergeant and being a lead authority. Where now, I'm just you know, a subject matter expert or somebody who provides experience, but I don't have any weight or authority on decisions.
Right.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
that's actually good. I like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't have
I
to
was
make
gonna
any.
say that's got to be a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's nice. So that's been helpful. I got more involved in the church, so community and like getting in men's group and placing my military community with the community of being around brothers in Christ, and that's been really helpful too. So I
Yeah.
think it's been a really easy shift for me to kind of let the anxieties go of 15 minutes early to everything, getting a fresh haircut. If I don't see, I see somebody with their hands in their pockets, like, what are you doing over there? I think that's been a pretty easy shift just because, I don't have those worries anymore. I got wake up in the morning, have my coffee, see my kids bouncing around. Life is good.
Yeah. So how's life been for the kid being, at home with the kids every day?
I mean, that's a question for them. I don't know. They having dad around. I think my son will tell you it's days when dad's around is probably you know, not always the best because I'm a little bit more stricter. Um,
Right.
but
Me too.
I think it's twofold. I think they like having me around. I'm building relationships I didn't have while I was in the military. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say that it's been nice, the last few years being able to get up and drive my kids to school, and I'm even a person who gets to pick them up, but and that's it's been nice. I'm more present. My son just graduated, so he's in college now. My daughter's still in school, but it's nice to be able to show up at events, in just regular clothes,
yeah,
because I didn't just get off work or whatever have you. So it's been really nice. Um,
you said your
well,
son just graduated. My son's going into his senior year, so I got to start preparing a lot of stuff. I know I've been looking into, because I was able to transfer my GI Bill to my kids, so transferring GI Bill benefits, making sure he's getting those, and then taking advantage of any Chapter 35 benefits for being a disabled veteran.
yeah.
Did
Well, I
did
would.
did you guys use any of that?
Yeah, we use the chat. We use the chapter 35 and whatnot. I did not. And here's the things that you don't learn about transferring what you need to do to transfer your uh all your benefits over to your kids soon enough. So if like for me, I would have had to stay in another 5 years in
Yeah.
order to do that. You
I
know.
actually hear that a lot, from a lot of people. I actually transferred my benefits over to my son back in 2015, I wanna say,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
didn't retire until 2023. I was one of the ones that actually took advantage of it, didn't have to do obligated service at the end of my time,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
hear it all the time because I would talk to my buddies and they're like they're putting in their retirement papers and they're like, "Oh, wait, I could have transferred my benefits to my kid," and then they have to do more time, and I'm like, "Oh, you didn't know about that?" Then I felt, like, guilty because I didn't tell them.
Yeah.
I was
But
like,
it's the assumption because the way a lot of things are presented, you can transfer, your benefits over to your kid. Stop. But it doesn't. There's no information to follow after that. So you think, hey, I could just transfer when I'm done, because I got most of my schooling while I was in.
yeah, I also got my bachelor's degree when I was in. I was talking to another I think I was on somebody else's podcast, or it might have been on my own, where I was, like, bragging about my 16-year bachelor's degree because it took me 16 years of my active duty time. Like, I should have a PhD, but no, I have a
Yeah,
uh,
my son wants me to go back for my PhD. I'm like, no way. There's no
I
chance.
thought about it. I thought
Right.
about it. We talked about things to get out, don't know what to do with my hands. I was like, "Well, I got
Yeah.
my bachelor's degree now. I could probably go back and get my master's." Applied to this school, got accepted, and then I started to do my first class. I was like, "What am I doing? Like, I don't need this."
And see, the thing is, I've got my master's, man, but I'm telling you, oh my God, they tell you all the things that you can do with these degrees, but most of the time, nobody tells you, hey, sometimes you're going to need you need a little bit less experience here, or well, you need a little more education here, a little less experience here. I actually had somebody tell me that I was overqualified for a job. I'm like, what? I'm not
Overqualified. Oh,
overqualified.
what that
I
sounded
was like,
like is
what?
they didn't wanna pay you. That's what that
Yeah.
sound
Is that the excuse? I mean, I felt good about myself, but listen, I applied for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's crazy. And a lot of the guys that I talk to, that are prior service, most of them are adjusting pretty well. Some of the guys didn't know what the hell to do with themselves once they got out. Yeah, all the studs are big and fat now. Yeah, but
Yeah,
life
I
is
don't know
really
how I haven't gotten fat. Oh, actually, I could tell you my secret. Oh, because I don't really go to the gym anymore. I got too many injuries. I work around the house. I got the wife's, to-do list and projects around the house to keep me
yeah.
busy, but,
Thank you.
um, yeah, I haven't put on any weight. Been out for 3 years. I'm still the same size. I
Yeah,
mean, got a
man.
beard now.
Yeah. Isn't the beard nice? Like
Yeah.
nobody telling you got to shave. Listen, at one point I grew this shit. It was just like, "Arr." My wife was like, "Listen, I'm gonna need you to cut that because, yeah, it is scratching at my face every time." Can you just listen? Keep the beer, but just know, can you make it nice and manageable? So you look respectable to go out with. I'm like, what's respectable? I don't know. So you don't look like I picked you up off the street and brought you home. Like, all right, well, I guess that's all right. So,
Yeah, for mine, I grew it out real long and nasty at first, but then I realized it doesn't grow in certain spots. It's like patchy over here and long over here.
right,
So to not look like a wild animal, I just keep it trimmed.
yeah, so, yeah, I love it, man. So, no real transition battles, huh?
Um, yeah, I mean, not work wise, not. I think, like I said, the biggest thing was like adjusting to. For me, it was like adjusting for like knowing the difference between the military and civilian life, and then expectation management. I still deal with that. Like, to me, it seems like a very simple, like, if you're given a task or you're doing something, and get it done in a timely manner. Don't waste people's time. And yeah, I don't see that so much on the civilian side. Not trying to insult them, but like they get up in their feels, and then uh, they let the smallest of stress impact them. And then we don't even apply it to work. If like I go somewhere and like at church, even in church, I got to mind myself at church too. I pray that God gives me the patience with people. But like they'll ask me to, take on a project at church, and I take it on like, a Marine, like, hey, let's form a working party, get everybody in line, step. And oftentimes I think I'm acting too concise and quick for people that it just now they feel like they're being, drilled.
Right.
I just have to step back sometimes and say, hey, if you would like me to lead, I can give you some suggestions or whatever. But let's let somebody that's more caring in their talk jump
Right.
up there and do it, because sometimes I jump in too hard.
You see, and I will tell you at church, man, I had to be very mindful of my mouth
Yeah.
when I'm having conversations with people because, I get excited and sometimes I get to dropping cuss words and combos of cuss words that people are like, oh my God. And it's not that I mean to, it's just that those are the people I've spent most of my time around for so long that now I've got to learn to dial it back.
Yeah, I think that's been it. But I mean, I wouldn't say it's been the easiest. Like I said, a part of it's been why I went to more church groups, men's groups, and stuff like
Yeah.
that, being around a newer community. And they even, that's funny, when I joined my men's group, and I actually tell this to other, this would be my advice to other military people if they're trying to join another community too, is they wanted to put me in this group in my church called the Thin Line or Thin something or whatever, but it was all like military guys and police officers, border patrol, firefighters. It's all
Yeah.
service workers.
Right.
I was like, "I don't want that." I was like, "I already know about what they're gonna do. I wanna be around people who aren't that, so I
Yes.
can learn and grow from people who aren't like-minded." Because I think having a different opinion of other people and be able to actually have a good conversation, you can build your mind better.
You know
It
what?
blew they're like, "Really? You don't wanna be around other military?" I was like, "No, I got other military friends. I'll be around them, don't worry."
No,
But
and
yeah, it's been really helpful for me to be around men that aren't service related, because I can see how they think of things and how they come to Christ, and,
right.
their family struggles, and see that I'm no different. I
Right.
just
And I never considered that because I had thought about joining the men's group, at the church and everything, and they've got a group for military, and I was like, oh, that's the group that I want to be around, you know. But now that you put it that way, maybe I might want to reconsider.
well, I'll tell you this, one of the first times that it blew my mind,
Hmm.
it didn't, 'cause we're doing Bible study, and I think one of the times, I'm probably gonna mess this all up, but we were one of my Bible study leaders had asked, "Do you guys have friends that aren't Christian?" And all the guys in the men group, for the most part, said no, they didn't. They only hung out with other Christian men. And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." Surround yourself around people who are gonna, bring you up. But then I was like, "Dude, I have tons of friends that aren't Christian." I was like, "I'm in the military. I got guys who are, Muslim. I got guys who are Navajo Indian. I got some that are atheist. Like you name them. We come from a different background. I couldn't even name all the ones that I'm sure they're not Christian." And
Right.
they're like, "And they're your friends?" I was like, "Absolutely, because I relied on them to have my back, and we served together, and I know where they're coming from." And I was like, and I pray for them that they'll get the same peace that I have, but I'm not going to exclude them. And then I started even talking about, isn't that what we're supposed to do as Christians? Is be somebody that would bring other people to God? And they're like, oh, fair enough. So again, that difference being around them and telling them my perspective and coming to the military, I think opened their eyes too. But
Right.
yeah, I love being in a different group. I think it's really nice.
Yeah. And I'm seriously going to reconsider just joining the military group, and and literally for every reason that you just said. Yeah, it does make a bit more sense. Um, and but plus it'll give me some outside perspective, because I will tell you that I am still a little hung up on things like with people being late. You know,
Oh, phew, talk about anxiety.
man. Oh my God. Listen, I had an interview a couple months ago, and the interviewee was late. Okay, interviewer, but he ended up being like 35 minutes late. I am losing my mind, because, like, bro, how are you the guy in charge and you can't even be on time? You know,
Did he give you a heads up or anything? Or
well, his secretary said he was running behind. He was out somewhere at another building and everything. But, and that's, I guess it's all fine and good, but it's
yeah,
just, hey, plan accordingly, you know. But again, I'm getting better, man. I swear I am.
yeah.
And
I think we all feel that one because I even to this day like I'm perpetually early to things just
yeah,
because like, I cannot. To me, it's just insulting to waste somebody else's time. If I told you I'm going to be somewhere,
yeah.
I'll move the world to be there because I don't want to have time wasted. And I feel like that's what I want for me as well. If I'm like, but yet at the end of the day, things happen. That's what I was saying. Things happen. We got to be flexible. We got to be understanding.
So, all right, we're talking about it's the show's about fathers, men. Hey, I openly have no problem talking about faith and all that. You've talked about being faith, as a priority. How did your relationship with God evolve from the military to your civilian life now?
Man, I feel like, and I'm still, trying to get better at it. I'll be honest with you, but I feel like
Yeah.
for me in the military, I made the military number one, like
Hmm.
mission. I put that ahead of like family and God and because it was what was providing everything for my family.
Right.
So it wasn't aligned properly. I didn't even though the military teaches you that. I think they always taught us God, country, family. I don't know. They had a thing, but really what they expect is you put the military first. We provide everything to for you, and then you can do everything else second. And I lived that, man. I think that's probably why I was so successful in the military. But getting back from that, I'm like, well, I had my things aligned wrong. It should be God first above everything else, and then your family, and then maybe work if if you're happy with work.
If you're happy with work, right? Yeah, I listen, man. It's been a slow process for me, uh, and it's primarily because, not that I've lost faith in God. I had lost faith in the people who preached.
Yeah.
You know, because I had seen so many people, you know, Monday through Saturday just doing the wrong thing, and then Sunday rolling to church, holier than now, preaching about this, that, and the third. I'm like, how is that okay? You know, and listen, I know that God is a forgiving God. I do, but isn't there like a point where God's like, hey man, you kind of being a bit of a hypocrite. You need to live what you're teaching, because like I said, I had just been seeing so much negative by the people who were preaching His word. It was just it kept me away from church. My faith didn't waver. It just kept me away from the church, just because, and it's just a building. You can be a good steward of God, and be a good follower, and not have to walk into a building for that. But I do like the community of church.
Yeah, I actually, we've moved around to different churches, and I got a thought on that too. Um, I understand exactly what you're saying. I think I felt like that in many ways. I try not to worry about other people anymore because I'm not perfect.
Right. Oh,
What I
facts.
what I say is like, because I see people say that all the time. Well, how do you go to church? You see this guy, he's not perfect. I'm like, look, dog. If we and I think we go by that lesson of like those, those without the first, with no sins, throw the first stone.
Yeah.
And then Jesus was the only one left standing, and he said, "You were forgiven. Go and sin no more." I think we as people, we judge everybody around us so much.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm guilty.
yeah, no, I'm 100% guilty. I'll stop this conversation and start judging somebody else. I'm sure of. But I think we're so worried about how we think things are supposed to go, and we're not focused on ourselves so much and
Yeah.
our relationship with God. So I try not to. And I'm very bad at it. I'm not. I'm I'm saying mentally, I go and saying again that understanding that that person might be going through a struggle that I don't know about. There might be things that I don't know, and it's not on me to judge them. And only God knows their heart and how they are, and they'll be judged on the final day. Uh, but I just need to keep working on me.
Yeah, and that's a fact. I tell everybody I talk to, I am a work in progress. I've been working on myself for a long time. I've realized that even so much as distancing myself, from certain people and certain things, because I spent a life filled with drama and BS that people shouldn't ordinarily have to deal with, but I have. And now that I don't have to deal with it anymore, I don't welcome or allow any BS in my house, in my area code whatsoever, man. Just, I would rather cut people off, family included, if you're going to continue to bring drama into my life. There's, there's no room for it anymore, and I don't have the energy to deal with it. All I want to do is, enjoy what time I have in front of me, because Lord knows tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know your show's about like father talks and stuff like that. I'll tell you this: my pursuit and relationship with God's helped my pursuit with my son as well.
Yeah. And see, and was my son, both of my boys are they're they're more faith driven than I have been in a long time. So a lot of things they do are around faith, and it was so weird for me to see it because like my youngest son asked to get baptized in that, on his own. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I really want to. And we have such a relationship, man, that we pretty much talk about everything, and he'll he's a kid. He lies. Well, he's not a kid. He's a young man. He lies a little bit, but he will tell me in a second that I tell you the truth about everything for the most part because I know where you may get mad. You would rather hear the truth than me lie to you. You know, and I'm like, yeah. And he remembers me telling him when he was younger that our relationship is going to be based on trust. How much I can trust you and how much you can trust me. You can trust me to be your dad. You can trust me to always take care of you. And I just need to know that I can trust you to be a man of your word. Do what you say. If you tell me you're going to a place, be at that place because that's where I'm going to look for you at in an emergency. And he's always kind of lived off that. He's gotten in very little trouble, and I think his own beliefs and everything have kind of helped shape that. Like when he was a kid, we used to pray every night when he was a kid, and he still prays every night before he goes to bed now.
That's all. Yeah, I feel like I'm playing catch up on my son because, like, with me, like I said, I put the military first so much
Yeah.
that, my son's 17, he's going into his senior year. But the last 3 years, it's been reset
Right.
because a lot of times I come home from work, mom's been dealing with the kids all day, and I was like the punishment. So, "Hey, dad's home,"
Yeah.
and I didn't spend a lot of time talking to him. It was just enforcement of whatever you screwed up throughout the day, probably not the best way of going about things. So we had a broken relationship, plus I was dealing with a lot of anger and stress. Um, all that hasn't gone away entirely, but, like, I've redefined myself as I'm not an angry person anymore. I'm a chill, retired guy, and I'm trying to get my life back together, so I don't define by anger.
Yeah.
But with my son, I see that he has a lot of my old demons, like, he's angry a lot.
Hmm.
He gets stressed out, he gets through things. He's getting better too, but like I said, like, this pursuit of bettering myself has actually helped us in a relationship.
Yeah. Now, would you say? I mean, are you spending more time together? Is that part of it? or you just having more conversations in general?
I think a little bit both. I think, I mean, I wanna spend more time with him. I guess I could do more there, but, at the teenager level, it's like where I'm wanting to spend more time with him, he's wanting to spend all his time with his teenage
Your
friends.
friends. Yeah.
And actually, I had to deal with this too because I was like, "Why?" I'm sitting here you know, I'm trying to be there now, and he doesn't wanna be there, and that was making me, upset. But yeah, I think we talk more and, we do spend a little bit more time together. Back on the spending more time on the friends, I didn't realize that's something God designed in us as well too. Because at some point, we as, young men, we have to grow up and start our own families, so we decide to leave the parents. So God put that in our children that they'll go and wanna be their friends, and I didn't realize, like, "Oh, this is God working." Like, as much as I wanna spend time with my son, God's preparing him to leave.
Right.
Um, so,
Yeah.
I can't fight that as well. I gotta support him. "Hey, you wanna hang with your friends? I'm always here." So
Yeah. Well, I know, like me and my son, you know, we work out together. Right at this point, I'm just trying to keep up with him and not have a heart attack. So, we work out together, but he always comes to me for, tips on, hey, Dad, I need to get this together for practice, or I need to do this. I need to, hey, what's some better ways I can study my playbook? Occasionally he gets brave enough to ask me for help with his homework. That's a laugh, but he does, and I try my best to help him out. But I think, even just sitting around the barbecue grill, man, I'll be out there cooking. Sometimes he'll want to come in and help out. Yeah, you know, it's fire. It's my job, but I want him to learn. So I've been letting him do it, and I find that we talk a lot more. And that's even But traditionally, food has been the place where me and my family talk. So like one of the big things in our house was always making the kids help prepare meals. So if there was a big meal that needed to be made, everybody helped prep. If you didn't help prep, you were part of the cleanup crew. Yeah.
mhm.
And I tell you, man, it's built some interesting relationships. And I don't know if you and your son have any, or like if you got any hobbies, but anything that you can do it together. I'm telling you, it's amazing. What you get to learn about your kid, and you guys are just out having fun.
No, I'm learning all that now.
Yeah.
We're both he has asked me to go to the gym with him a couple times, and I badly have refused, but I have, like, I've told him, I was like, "Dude, I have injuries." He can lift a lot more than me now.
Yeah.
He's swole. He's like, "Ugh," but I'm like I was like, "Dude, I have injuries. I don't wanna go in there and injure myself." But we do, like, I'm gonna laugh because I've taken him some concerts. I took him to his first concert, like, Linkin Park concert. I like to watch wrestling, so talking about WWE, so I've taken him to a couple WWE events.
Time together.
Yeah, it's
And
time
that's
together,
what's important.
and then, yeah, we both enjoy, like, you said you're not very techy in the beginning. I do a lot of, so my degree is IT. I do a lot
Okay.
of programming and 3D printing, and I'm always building computers, and
Uh,
he's really into, like, YouTube and social media, so
yeah.
we kinda enjoy those conversations back and forth.
And
Uh,
see, and that's good. I mean, because we always think that doing something with our kids has to be what everybody else is doing. As long as you are doing something together, that is what matters. You know, I've learned that, man, your presence is more important than anything that you could financially provide for a child.
well, I you're absolutely right. The other night, I came back from a men's group, and, we had talked about something really awesome, and I had woke my son out of bed because I got about it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I think he wasn't asleep, but he was in bed, and I was like, "Get out of bed, we're going on a walk, I gotta share with you." And that was awesome too, just because I could share something with him.
Hmm. So it's nice to talk to other people, man. That especially when coming from the military standpoint, seeing guys make successful transitions and that, because I've had a lot of guys whose transitions haven't been good. Some horror stories where, hey, the military doesn't always do the best job at preparing us to make that transition. A lot of guys, um, for instance, when I deployed with 7 or 8 married guys.
Mhm.
Only three of us are married now.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable because these were all really close knit families, but no open conversations, no place for the men in those families to to lean on other people to talk to because they were afraid to talk to their spouses about some things because it's the military. You don't want there's not everything you don't want to share everything with your spouse, you know. And I think those are all things that led to a lot of those family breakups and not having people around like this to talk.
Yeah, I think it's well, that's the thing is with the military, is I think that culturally we think we're so much different from everybody else.
Right.
And there are parts of us that are. We obviously my time, we all volunteered. You're not Vietnam era either, so I would assume you volunteered to serve, right?
Yes.
So, we all volunteered, so we have a serving nature to serve our country and to be like, that. But outside of that, I think men are no different whether they're military or they're doing something else where they hold all the stresses of being the provider, and it's oftentimes they don't have a community to talk to.
Right.
So,
Both of our shows, I watched a little bit. I love the fact that we can be a resource, you know,
sure.
for other people, and again, I've mentioned this several times that I don't care if I can help just one or two guys. You know what? That's one or two guys that I helped that, the day before I didn't do anything for.
Yeah, actually, I'm stuck with my show just being veterans and talking about
Yeah.
transition and, maybe share a story of your time.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life now? Same thing. Like, I'm more interested in the person and what they're doing. Share your stories too, because I don't think those are awesome. And I don't really care what you did in the military. I think everybody served is great.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing in my show. I say, hey, if I just help one person today, if there's something you got from this show, just one person.
Yeah. A lot of people, like, obviously at some point in doing this, I want to do it for a long time. Whatever time I have left, I think this is something I want to do for years. I really enjoy it. Everybody's like, well, it's about the money. Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah, everybody wants to get paid doing something. But for me, passion, I am very passionate about this. When I started it originally, man, I did it for a little bit. I did it for about 6 months and I quit. It was I didn't have the resources that I do now. I didn't know what I know now, and I still don't know everything. But now I'm more engaged because I'm not just sitting in a room just having a conversation with myself talking to my computer screen.
Oh,
So
so when you started before, were you done doing interviews? Were you just doing like,
just pretty much just commentary, just me talking about different things, so I hadn't really learned how to do interviews and that. I did like 5 episodes, man, of just me sitting in this very same office talking to my computer screen. Like, yeah, this is
yeah,
terrible. If this is podcasting, I do not like this at all.
yeah, I think so I had a hard time getting guests at first. I'm still in that phase where I'm like, you know, I think robbing from somebody or like begging or borrowing to get guests, but that's okay. Just a new channel. But yeah, there was like, I tried out the like, hey, let me do a real quick, like 3-minute video talking. I felt so awkward.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Uh,
tell you, it was awful, you
uh,
know.
I would say even in the interview process, like for me, and I'm still learning, I think I'm only like about to do my 17th episode on Thursday or something like that.
Okay.
But for me, I'm like, there are people like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, dude, I don't prepare. I just have a conversation with people. I try to be genuine. And if
Right.
it comes off good, great. If it doesn't, you know what?
Right.
I
But
still talk to
the thing
another
is,
vet.
some people I prepare for, if I prepare for all of them. If the conversation's not going well, I got some standby questions just in case,
Yeah.
but then there's other people like some professionals that I've interviewed that like, man, I was like, I need to really have my shit together because I don't want to seem like some little chode that, just taking up airtime, so, but
Well,
some people,
I wouldn't say I don't prepare entirely. Obviously, I read
yeah,
the
I know what you mean.
Bible and I have some questions. I just saying like my go-to isn't, an interview. My go-to is just like we're doing right now. Let's have a
You're just
conversation.
having a conversation.
I think that's more entertaining because you hear the real, they're not
Yeah.
like trying to prepare these. Let me get my let me get my script and prepare these like answers that aren't real and
Or like I couldn't figure out like this is a Riverside they've got a script button and then it's got a little monitor.
Yeah, I tried that. I hate that
Yeah.
thing.
Well, sometimes the monitor it moves too fast, so I'm trying to
Oh, yeah.
slow it down while I'm reading. I'm like, you know what, man? Yeah, this isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna try to, be as genuine, as down to earth with people as I can. Try to ask as many, pertinent questions, to the conversation as possible. But this time around, I do enjoy it more.
No, that's awesome, dude. Well, and what are some of you I know we're having a good conversation. What are some of your prepared conversations had I been a hard guest to talk to? What do you got on?
Yeah. All right, let me pull up. And honestly, man, it's most of the stuff that I've asked is really I just didn't ask it formally. So
Oh,
like,
I got you.
so like, everything you experience. What kind of man are you still working to become today? Then there's a bunch of follow up questions.
Yeah,
So like, after that, follow up question is, what are you actively working on right now?
that's
And
awesome. Yeah, I think, because again, I'm trying to fill out what your podcast's about, and I wanna be good for your listeners too.
yeah,
Um,
I can tell you as a veteran, I get a lot of guys, who listen to the show who are vets. They want veterans to talk about some more veteran topics and veteran, pertinent things, making the transition, working on family and things.
well, I would say this for the veterans out there, the most veteran topic I can tell you is, like, I'm John.
Yeah,
I'm not Mass Sergeant Smith. I'm not, and if you can drop your identity, um, of wearing the uniform, and I'm not saying erase your past because I still cherish every moment in the Marine Corps. I
sir.
still have friends. I think that's a great part of my life, and it built me who I am. But when you can drop the uniform and be happy with yourself and say, "Hey, I'm John, and nice to meet you," and move forward from that, you're gonna be a lot better off than
Right.
still using that's the best advice. I mean, you wanna know why I'm successful? 'Cause I don't need to be Mass Sergeant anymore. I don't need to be anybody that I was in the military. I've moved on from that.
Right.
Uh,
Oh,
and
that's
I think that
outstanding.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know what though, and I think that'll resonate with a lot of guys. And again, man, I know guys who have been out for for a few years and still trying to figure it out. And I think hearing things like that from another veteran, and it's different hearing it from a close friend, because they assume, hey, you're just trying to be nice. And I mean, if you know me, I'm not really that nice. I say what's on my mind because I like to be direct. I don't like to beat around the bush with people because it's a waste of time when we could be figuring things out. So, I'm
Well, me
from
and you would get along then, 'cause I
yeah,
actually I'm very direct. I'm very truthful, whether
yeah,
truth hurts or not. But the way I always look at it, and I tell people, I was like, "I'd rather be direct and be truthful with you, whether you like what I'm saying or not, because you know where I stand, and
yes,
there's no mystery." And, honestly, that's and again, you could do it with grace. You could do it without being insulting or harsh, which I've learned. That's a new thing I've learned. But that's much like the teachings of Jesus when he went into the churches and talked to the Pharisees and he was upset with them, but he was being truthful that they weren't holding up their word and he
right,
was teaching wrong. And we can learn that truth is actually the right way, but do it with grace. So
yeah.
I'm okay with that too. I'd
See,
rather have somebody that's not false to me.
right, and I would see, and that's the thing is that I've learned to be upfront with people and not be hurtful, and that I've just always been so direct that I come out like a real jerk, and it's not my intent. I'm just trying to be honest with people about things. And I've learned that, sometimes you can be direct, but your language needs to be a little more padded.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know,
what I was saying, the grace part. I gotta
yeah,
learn that. I gotta learn
yeah,
that myself.
yeah. Well, especially, sometimes when I'm, like even my neighbors, we're sitting around talking and they may have done something, well, let's just say ridiculous. And I'll call them out on it. And I'm not purposely trying to be rude. I'm just like, well, this was kind of dumb. You probably shouldn't have did that, you know. And everybody's like,
Yeah,
okay,
I feel like that's a very military trait too, 'cause and you said you're Army. I know in the Marine Corps,
yeah,
we talk about, like, iron sharpens iron,
yeah,
like, very much direct. If we see somebody that's not holding up their, side of it, we're gonna directly correct them, but then we go about business like it was just, like we weren't doing it, and we're so quick to do that in our regular lives.
yes,
But I say that again, that's a Christian trait. There's a whole, like, I don't have it. I don't have everything memorized, but there's literally a it's iron sharpens irons out of the Bible. So
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I need to slowly sharpen my iron because, I'm just getting suing it up and I, put people in conversation the same way. Like, oh my God. My wife would be like, hey, you might want to chill or dial it back a little bit. I'm like, what? I didn't say nothing. She's like, yeah, you're being a little rough around the edges. I'm like, oh, okay, my bad, my bad. And then,
yeah, some
when I
people can't take
recognize,
criticism.
right, but when I recognize it, I try to backtrack and tell people, hey, I wasn't trying to be critical. I know it probably came out that way, but that wasn't my intention, or to be hurtful. So, and that I think as a father, that has been one of those things, man, that I've learned to admit when I'm wrong. And that, oh my, listen, in my household, being wrong is the worst thing that you want to be because
My
nobody ever
household
lets
is
you.
the same
They
way.
will never want to let you live it down. Well, remember that time, and it's like I said, I'm a father, so that you understand, I'm a father of 9. All my kids are all
9.
graduated. Yes,
Woo!
everybody's all high school and college graduates. I've only got one grandkid. Everybody's kids are still in college. Mostly everybody's still enjoying life.
Talk about being an expert.
Right. Hey,
I'm sure the first 1, 2, or 3 were a struggle, but, like, you get up to number 9, you're like going,
yeah, listen, there is no expertise whatsoever, none, because anything that I thought that I knew about kids, the next one just completely flipped that over on his head. You know,
yeah, I only got 3 and, I got my son's my oldest, and then I got a 15-year-old. She lives with my ex-wife.
okay,
I'm kinda struggling because 'cause I'm not there as much as I'd like to just because of
yeah,
separating of families, and then I got a 7-year-old, so I started all over. So I got 17, 15, and 7, and I thought, to your point, I thought, well, 17-year-old's a struggle. Maybe I'll do better on the next one, but she's completely different, and, like,
no, nothing. Listen, and my son who has a baby now, him and his wife. I love being a grandfather. There was a bunch of times where I was telling my wife, I was like, "Come on, man, we should adopt. Come on, it's the one thing we do really well as parents." I had my grandson one day by myself. I'm like, oh my God. On second thought, this is a terrible idea. No, 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 no. I will babysit anytime you want to, but I got to give him back.
did you ever find yourself, and I'm sure you did, because I tell my son's at that stage where he thinks he's grown, but he's a teenager, so he's not
Yeah,
grown. I find myself all the time because he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, sometimes I don't wanna give you the why because obviously I'm telling you to do
do
something.
something.
It's from experience. Shut up and do it. I'll eventually we get around to it. I'm trying to give him the why and he doesn't understand. I'm always like, "You just wait till you have kids,
Right.
and then you'll understand real quick what I'm talking about."
This is what I learned, and I learned it from one of my guest interviews. If you are trying to talk to your child in a heated moment, no matter how right you are, they will never hear it. Will
Oh, yeah.
never hear anything you say. You have to wait till everybody has calmed down. You've gotten whatever frustrations out. He's gotten whatever frustrations out. And then you need to talk. Talk for a second, hear whatever your kid has to say without responding, and then say whatever you need to say. It's the only way, especially when it comes to a teenager. Teenager you could catch your kid doing something and show it to them on video camera,
Yeah,
not trying to hear nothing you say.
it wasn't
Nothing.
me. They're like
Yeah.
over here like
Yes.
Shaggy. It wasn't
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I've been trying that. I've been trying it a lot lately. And with my daughter, I will say I've been much more successful than I was before. Because once her feelings are hurt or something, man, nothing. She's just I'm trying to talk to her and she's just crying, and I mean not crying, crying, just like ugly crying, like because I'm hurt her feelings. Her face is just twisted up. I'm like, bro, come on. I'm getting soft in my old age. I can't deal with this. So but I wait for everything to calm down, and then we have a conversation. Even if it's not that day, maybe it's the next day, and we have another talk. Way more receptive, and I know all the landmines to avoid.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the biggest struggles I had because like I said, I came out angry. I'm not an angry person anymore. I try not to define by that. But again, that transition from mass aren't everybody listens to what I say. I was at
Yeah,
E8,
without question.
if I said something, I had grown men and women like stop what they're doing and do it. 'Cause that's what Massar has spoken, and I come home to my teenage son and I'm like, "Hey, you need to grab the trash." And he's like, sits on his phone or he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll get it in a little bit." And I'm like, "What
Excuse me.
is he doing right now?"
Yes.
You're like and I've transitioned from the stress of, like, yelling and getting mad because he didn't act immediately to these orders that I've given him to, like, "Okay, I'll let him on his own time get it. At some point, it's gotta give, but it's not worth my stress and anger." It's not worth me getting all worked up because, he's finishing up his video. We were just doing because I homeschool my kids, which is a little different. I took over that role to homeschool my son, which has been a very stressful both good, but also, you know, not only am I dad at home, but now I'm a teacher too, so I get to tell you you're wrong with your man, talk about
So kids
but,
never get a break from you?
yeah, it's terrible. For him, no. But the other day, he's trying to go out with his friends, he was doing his work, he's kinda on his own, being a high schooler, I just check his work now, like, "Hey, you got a research paper or you got an assignment? How much you got?" And then I'll read over it. He's on his own, like, he doesn't need me standing in front of the class or anything like that. But, he's got a debate he supposedly was working on, and I was like, he said he's like, "I looked at it." I was like, "Did you look at it or did you do something with it?" He's like, "I said I did something." I'm like, "No, the words out of your mouth was you looked at it." So I was like, "Well, show me what you did," because 'cause I'm always like, "I don't believe you, show me the work." And he's like, "I can't." And I was like, "Well, then you didn't do any work. If you can't show me work, you didn't do work." So then we started getting back and forth on that. Eventually, I had to just let it go. 'Cause like you were saying, he was getting upset, he already had plans to go out and hang with friends. Like, what am I getting from that? He's getting his schoolwork done,
Yeah.
and I had to, like, internally in my brain, like, "Oh, do I wanna turn on Massar hat and yell at him because his words, or do I just want him to go?" And I'll go back to being peaceful in my office, so
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what though? With my son, it's similar. Sometimes he gets a little he wants to put his chest out a little bit. And I gotta give him, as a father, I gotta give him a little space to grow as a man, you know. And long as he isn't testing me too much, I let him go, you know. So, he's like, even with his college work, I check on him like, hey man, you up to, all your work done in school? He's like, yeah. And I just remind him, I was like, because I'm not about to go and check, I just remind him that you're paying the bill for this now. School costs now.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, the military is helping you. If you mess up, that could be a class that you have to retake. And at the end of this, after you graduate, that may be some money you have to pay back just because you didn't do your work. And he hears that, he is super cheap. He's like, listen, I'm not about to give anybody else no more money that I don't have to. So
Yeah, talk about cheap. My son, I'm trying to teach him the lesson. Maybe I pick your ear about this, or maybe your listeners can chime
yeah,
in. So he's, 17, he doesn't have a job, he works, he, uh but he drives, so I pay for he's got a cell phone, he's got his car I bought, he pay for everything, and recently I was like, "Hey, you're driving too much with your friends and hanging out, and I'm just paying for all this gas." I didn't say I wouldn't pay for his gas, but I was like, "You hanging out and going to the fast food restaurants with your friends and all around town, that's a you thing. I pay for you going to school and church." So I was like, I gave him a dollar amount for gas each month.
yeah,
I was like, "After that, it's gone. That's it." He's like, "Well, I don't have a job." I was like, "There's plenty of jobs around the house. I'll help you. I'll pay for you." I was like,
listen,
"But I'm not gonna beg you." But he's, like, got so cheap now that he has his friends picking him up. He's like, "I can't afford to drive anywhere because 'cause you're not giving me gas money." I was like, "What's gonna happen when I'm not alive? Are you like, you
yeah.
gonna"
But here's the thing: you're doing the right thing already, because the reality is that at some point he's going to be on his own. He can't come to you for everything because there are still children at home that need to get taken care of. And I went through a similar situation with my son, where he, like, I was paying for gas, just taking care of everything. But then it got to a point my wife and I said, you know what? If he wants to go hanging out with his friends and everything, he can pay for the gas.
Yeah.
So what he did is he started working with my wife, and then he picked up a little part-time job. Now suddenly, when it's his money, that has to go towards things. He's like, no, no, everybody's just gonna come over tonight because we're gonna hang out in the basement because gas is too expensive. Now, keep in mind, he is 28, so this was a long time ago when gas was way cheaper. Okay,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, gas is too expensive. We're just gonna hang out at the house. Can I have friends over for dinner? I'm like, no, because I have to feed all of you then. But I am telling you, you are doing make him responsible for the things he has, because it's the
Yeah,
only way he'll appreciate it.
it's a tough love thing because he doesn't
Yeah,
he keeps saying, like, well, he does the same thing because 'cause I'll see him out and go buy fast food, which we have food at the house. I'm always like, "Food's the house. I don't need to buy fast food." Or he'll go out and buy Monsters or whatever crap he wants. And then he'll be like, "I don't have any more money for gas." I was like, "Dude, you just spent $100 last month on fast food. You don't tell me you don't have money." And he's like, "Well, that's what I wanna spend my money on." And he'll go and he goes, "I don't wanna spend my money on gas." And
yeah.
I'm like,
You
"Sounds
don't
like
want to
you're
drive.
going anywhere."
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. You want to sit in the car in the driveway. That's what it sounds like you want to do. So
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you are going in the right direction, because again, at some point we do have to set boundaries, because when we're successful, we want to do more things for our kids that our parents weren't able to do for us.
right.
But we're forgetting that our parents laid the groundwork for us to be the men we are. You know, you knew what a hard day's work was. You understand, and for the last 20 some odd years, that's exactly what you've been doing. You
Yep.
know, so money doesn't just appear in your bank account; it has to be worked for. So it doesn't, trust me, it doesn't make you a bad father for making him earn a little bit of his money. No, sir.
Boy, it's
No.
tough when they don't have a job because then
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me,
they're
20 years from now, when you start really making him work, he's going to look back and like, you know what? Maybe my dad wasn't such a jerk, because I couldn't be living in my parents' basement, you know, at 25 years old, 27 years old, you know, still asking my parents for money.
well, he
What am I?
he keeps saying I'm trying to have control over him. I was like, "Actually, it's further from the truth. I want you to have your own things. I
Yeah.
don't want any control over you. I want you to do your own thing." I was like,
Yeah.
"You
By
I
you earning
currently
your own
have
money.
control over you. I
Yes. By
don't
you
want it."
having your own money, you get to say what you do with that money. See, I have total control over you right now because it's my money, and I dictate when and where I give it to you. That's it in a nutshell.
Yep.
So, but all right, John, words of advice for any transitioning soldiers. Actually, we don't want to even say transitioning soldiers, just any young men trying to figure it out.
I mean, for me, and I know everybody's gonna be different, and I'm not trying to, sound too preachy, but for me, like, you ain't gonna figure out anything. I think and my mom used to tell me this, and my dad also said, "You wanna make God laugh, tell him you got plans." Um, but I think if you release yourself to God and you put yourself and you're able to humble yourself and give up the pride that you got control, and you just live in God's, plan, things will go a lot smoother. I'm
Right,
still fighting that every day, 'cause
right.
I'm very prideful, but every time I pray and I say, "Hey, what do you got for me today?" and help me out, everything goes so much smoother, and I think if we can all get to that, we'll be fine. As a nation, if we could do that,
Right.
we can be fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Smith, sir, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I am looking forward to the role being reversed here in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, about just over a month. So, listen, I will be on time, and yeah, should be interesting.
Hey, real quick, I mean, if you
Yeah,
don't mind, I'm gonna pump my
yeah,
my podcast, which I haven't done. So I know we
yeah.
talk about veterans, and thank you for your service as well, Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you for
My
yours.
podcast is a space similar to this. We talk about anything and everything under the sun. It's just veterans, though, but it's just a space to have a porch style conversation. I don't dictate what we're gonna talk about. In fact, most of the time, I don't know. I ask the veteran and say, "Hey, what do you wanna talk about?" And from there, we just have a conversation. So if
Yeah,
that's something you'd be interested, come check me out. I'm, at the Unsung Veteran on YouTube, also on LinkedIn, all that. Just search the Unsung Veteran, you'll find me. And if you want to be on there, like I'm open to have anybody on my show. Like I really don't mind. I just want to talk and learn and grow this community. So thank you for having me on. Thank you for giving me a space to talk.
yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, remember that the unsung veteran, right? And listen, guys, I've listened to a bit of the show. If you're a veteran, you need a place to talk and just kind of hang out. It is a great spot for that. So don't forget, I'm going to get your contact information just in case people want to reach out to you
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be on the show. And this way I'll add it to the show content. All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot. John, thanks a lot for being on the show. Good luck with your son and the rest of the family, and enjoy that retirement.
Yeah, you as well, man. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Take care, brother.